your high-seeded kids feed into number ones. That's kind of a tough deal. How do you approach it with those guys?
The same as any match. I don't even look on like the announcement date. I mean, I'm excited to see who we wrestle, but I'm just not. It doesn't matter because every time you think you're going to wrestle someone, that guy gets hurt, sick, gets beat. So, I don't put much thought into it. We'll wrestle the first guy. We'll worry about the second guy later.
Well, they're all good anyway, so you're going to face good ones regardless, whether you start early or late, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they're all supposed to be pretty good.
What's the kind of general feeling about with the 5 guys that you got going in? How you feel about where they're at right now?
I feel good about where they're wrestling. Obviously, we'd like them to be seated first.
Sure.
But I like where they're wrestling for them. I think they're all improving. Just from the top down, Ngati and Noah have been doing this the whole season. So I think, they're going that direction. So, it's just a question now of can we get them to where they need to be by, Thursday.
What specifically with Noah, what kind of growth have you seen out of him this year? Obviously, he's an in-state guy. He's very successful in high school, but on the collegiate level, what have you seen from him?
I think he's figuring out college wrestling, just everything. How to use his energy, how to cut his weight, how to manage the travel. There's so much that goes into it that, people don't see. Even just schoolwork and wrestling combined, and then you have the actual wrestling aspect, how to finish takedowns and get off the bottom. So, it's been a pretty good year for him figuring like all those things out.
You've had these guys dual season. Now it's tournament season. How do you approach it with these guys? This is the first time you've had these kids in this environment.
Same. We just try to, keep the attitude light and keep them focused on scoring points and on their wrestling. If you worry too much, about winning and losing, I think you can get overwhelmed. In their whole lives, these kids, all they want to do is be NCAA champions and All-Americans. So there's a lot of built-in pressure already. So I try, not to get in the way too much.
You mentioned a high-pressure situation. What about risk-taking? And, how do you encourage that with these guys? Or you're like, try to survive? Or
it's an eating contest, and you got to sit down, and if you don't start eating, you're not going to win. Yeah. So, you have to get after it. Yeah, you have to go score points, and that's really important.
How are your kids on their feet? Usually a lot of times how you do on your feet can determine whether you get that point you need to move on.
I like our guys, but again, when you work with them, you just tend to, build a relationship, and I like them. I like where they're at. I like their chances, and I think they're all wrestling well.
Do you like your guys studying the field and knowing who is? Do you get into that much, or do you just go one
case
guy?
By case?
You do?
Yeah. Some kids don't want to watch. Some kids watch all the time. Some kids' parents know every guy in the field, or uncles. Someone in the family wrestled. So we do a little bit of scouting, obviously, as a staff, but. The kids are case by case.
But you guys have the information and okay, what this guy's going to do to shoot and kind of help them along?
It's interesting because I'm sure in any sport, if you worry too much about the other guy, you end up standing around and you're not eating. So, I think it's really important to know what somebody does, but just focus on what you do.
Your heavyweight's an interesting story. I think you won, 5 matches before you got him? And now he's in the national tournament. That's a pretty good turnaround for him.
Yeah, he's done a really good job. Just his training has been consistent. His attitude's great. And he's really bought into, he just fights for every point. He doesn't let the guys up. He just fights hard the whole time. So he's had a great year. So we're really proud of him.
And I know, too, experience-wise, you've just got one kid that's been here. So the other 4, this is the first time they've been at the national tournament. You help them along? What do you do with them?
It's still going to be, when you get there, it's a big tournament, obviously, and there's a lot going on. There's trucks underneath the building, and it's just like a giant production. But these kids have wrestled their whole lives. They've been in the state finals. They've been in big tournaments. So, they kind of know what to expect.
Is it that simple? Do you treat it that simple with them?
Yeah. And you're wrestling the same kids. We're fortunate. We're in a really, really good conference. So, Matt Schmidt just wrestled Dayton Fix last weekend, who's ranked first or seeded first or second or whatever he's seeded. We're not going to see someone like we're like, wow, look at him. I mean, we've already seen all these guys, so I think that helps, quite a bit.
Get us, back from when we talked to you when you got hired. You were apprehensive about what you were inheriting. Now, looking back, you got 5 kids in the tournament. Is that about what you thought you'd get? Maybe a little bit more than you thought you'd get when you look back on it?
I didn't know what to expect really.
Yeah.
Obviously Matt, Schmidt had been there before, and we knew Noah was a good recruit. But I had no idea. So, we're pretty happy from where we were at the beginning of the year, as a team. And it was a weird year as far as, like, we've got some guys obviously going to the national tournament, and then we had some weights that, were struggling. And so it was a strange mix.
Yeah.
What's the season been like for you, kind of building relationships, getting to know the guys a little bit?
It's been fun, but it takes some time. You're just now, and that's why I'm a little disappointed Christian's going to graduate, and you just start to really get to know these guys, after a couple months in. But kids are kids, I can tell you that. Whatever school, they're the same. They're in there goofing around, doing the same things they do anywhere else. So, it's been a lot of fun.
But you got 4 coming back, and so that's a good place to start to build as you're building this thing. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we need leadership. We need those 4, and we're going to need some incoming recruits. And, I don't like that, what's the 76ers, the process. I mean, I understand, I guess it's a process.
Yeah.
You just want to win right away, though. So we want to circumvent the process and get to the end goals. Those guys will help us.
But sometimes kids get hot, I'm sure there have been instances where you've had kids that were probably seated right around where some of these guys are that just they were feeling good, physically they were in good shape, and mentally they were in good shape, and they just get hot.
We had a guy, Jared King from Connellsville, was seeded 12th, was a national champion. So
there you go.
You can do it. I mean, it's not gonna. The world's not gonna end if Matt Schmidt wins the nationals. You know what I mean? It can happen, and if he believes that, then it can.
Yeah. Is there any dual matches going on at the same time? Do you have guys multiple that you got to cover? Have you looked that far down to see where if you've got any where you got to be on 2 mats at one time to keep your eye on guys? Or
usually, yeah. If they're close in weight,
yeah,
you can have that. But
too far.
Cliff and Mitch and Cody can handle it. Probably smarter than I am.
How would you say, like having Port there next to you, him obviously being there twice, being in the finals twice, how does his experience help you? Like, so if you can't make it to one of the kids' matches and he's on the mat, he's gonna do well coaching the kid.
Yeah, that's important. Really all those guys have had NCAA experience. Cliff was a national champion for Iowa, and Port's been in national finals, and it's nice to know, that those guys know what's going on, and more importantly than their own wrestling is they know these guys wrestling and what they need to hear. So that's even more important than their own individual talents.
Speak to the event in Pittsburgh. It's a big deal for this area, and wrestling has been, a big deal in this area. And to have that there, just talk about that a little bit.
We've got so many ticket requests. It's crazy. I heard they requested right away. The schools requested like 25,000 tickets. So there's just not enough tickets. It's I expect it to be pretty hectic. And crazy. But Pennsylvania is a big wrestling, state, and Pittsburgh is, that pocket of wrestling is one of the best pockets in America. So, of course, all the parents and coaches and families, they all want to go, and there's a lot of excitement.
You surprised it's taken that long to get that event in this area?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I really am. So, and I look forward to it coming back. We'll see how it's run, but the NCAA does a great job usually putting on the event. So, and it's so nice for us, obviously, and our fans and our families. So, we'd love it to be close again.
last thing here, beyond this, what's the next step for you guys? What do you got to do with this group as you're building this thing and as you continue on?
It's always the same. You got to develop the kids you have, and then you got to go out and get quality kids, you know, and that's been a real focus this year, is just, you know, letting everyone know the expectations, what we expect of them as a person, as a student, you know, and then as a wrestler. And if we can get quality kids in here, you know, we'll get better. It's just a matter of time. But the recruiting part is real big here.
How have they responded to your methods, the way you train? Has it been how you expected? Better?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, kids are kids. I mean, I have a feeling, you know, people do what's expected of them in general, you know, so if you expect a lot, you get a lot. So, and we have expected a lot, and they're responding. You know, some didn't, you know, and some aren't with us, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. But the ones, you know, that are staying are doing a good job.
And these 5, this is the reward now for all the time and effort they put in this year, right?
Absolutely, really. Not just this year, all the time and effort they put in their whole careers. I mean, these kids have been wrestling forever, and you know, in these individual sports, it's, you know, I'm sure in every sport, they're training all the time. So even when they're not with us, they're out running in the summer or lifting, and they go to clubs, and it's there's a lot of work that goes into, you know, the finished product.